everybody, and welcome back for day 3 of the Business Summit, Friday morning. I hope everyone had an enjoyable day and evening yesterday. Please continue enjoying your breakfast as we get the final day of our Business Summit underway. Let's give one more round of applause, please, to the wonderful staff at the Greenbrier. You guys have been fabulous. Thank you. A reminder to return the exhibit cards as you guys have gone around and filled out the cards at the vendor exhibits. Turn those exhibit cards in at the West Virginia Chamber booth, which is inside Colonial Hall, directly on the other side of the curtain. Really good prizes for that, including a stay at the Greenbrier. In addition to our flagship events, the West Virginia Chamber is proud to extend our business academies to our members that are held throughout the year. I'd like to invite you to join our next Business Academy with Alpha Innovations, exploring the uses of AI in business on September 18th. If you're interested in hosting a Business Academy with the Chamber, please reach out to Kaylin George. On Wednesday, we had a breakout session dedicated to workforce solutions for employers, hosted by West Virginia Ready. I would like to briefly introduce a short video for you to watch from West Virginia Ready.
It's a new day in West Virginia. The challenges of today's workforce are real. Rapid technological advances, a shifting economy, and the pressure to stay competitive. Businesses are facing a skills gap, but there's a solution. It's time to take a fresh look at your workforce. It's time for more robust partnerships. Introducing West Virginia Ready. West Virginia's community and technical colleges are offering comprehensive training programs designed to meet the specific needs of your business. Whether it's advanced manufacturing, healthcare, new technologies, or certifications in specialized fields, CTCs are here to get your team ready with the skills they need to succeed. Businesses are already making it happen, partnering with CTCs to upskill their employees and prepare them for the demands of today and tomorrow. With specialized training in new and emerging technologies like AI, or helping employees with interpersonal skills, CTC and business partnership programs are making a real impact. West Virginia's community and technical colleges are ready to provide the training you need. It's time to equip your team for the challenges of tomorrow, today. Let's build a future-ready workforce together. Visit westvirginiaready.org today to find your local West Virginia Community and Technical College.
Thank you to West Virginia Ready for that video. That was a follow-up from a Wednesday breakout session. Our next panel will focus on how apprenticeships are a key part of this workforce solution. I'm going to ask our panelists to make their way to the stage while I introduce them, please. Derek Scarborough has served as the director of Marshall Advanced Manufacturing Center since 2022. The center has been focused on workforce and economic development for the manufacturing sector, serving more than 300 companies and training more than 900 people annually. Derek has served his entire career working in the public sphere, including time at the governor's office, the treasurer's office, the development office, and leading statewide nonprofits. Thank you for being here, Derek. James Mull is the president and CEO of Mull Group, a family-owned company based in the Ohio Valley with a long history in steel mill equipment, galvanized steel production, and commercial real estate. James has launched multiple U.S. Department of Labor certified apprenticeship programs focused on machining, quality control, and hands-on workforce development. He believes that the future of the industry depends on investing in young people and creating real opportunities for those willing to learn a trade, show up, and work hard. Amen, brother. Kimberly Knapp is the manager of training, development, and grants for Faro Globe West Virginia Manufacturing, where she led the development of 3 U.S. Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs. She previously served as a professor, director of workforce development, and executive director of corporate education in the West Virginia Community Technical College system. During her 14-year tenure there, she provided leadership for a number of initiatives, including internship, apprentice, and customized training solutions. You guys have a lot to talk about. Derek, are you going to start us off? You 3 take it away. I don't know who's going to start us off.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Appreciate you. Good morning, everybody. I know we're all alive and chipper this morning and ready to talk about one of the most persistent problems everyone in America is facing with their industry, and that's workforce development. And we're going to present what we believe is a good solution for every company as part of your overall package of workforce needs. And that's apprenticeship programs. And I'm really pleased to be joined by our panel here, two manufacturers in West Virginia with apprenticeships active. As Mary Beth said, I'm Derek Scarborough, Director of Marshall's Advanced Manufacturing Center. Tell you a little bit about our background. We are in our 35th year now. We're a nonprofit center of excellence at Marshall University, focused on workforce, applied engineering, things like that. We've got a team of 37 people working all over the state, directly with industry. President Brad Smith has really challenged us to 10x our impacts, and we're working hard to do that. Just last year, we did projects with over 300 companies around the state and trained nearly 1,000 people. We're really focused outwardly to serve industry and business, working to do applied engineering solutions, supply chain support, quality systems, things like implementing ISO standards, prototyping, a great deal of short-term customized training, things like micro courses. And today we're going to focus on a more longer-term program for business, and that's an apprenticeship program. So what's that all about? Apprenticeships are essentially a playbook for training for you to implement inside your company to help you grow and develop your own talent, to help fill difficult, higher skilled positions especially. And apprenticeships are a really proven time and time again by many studies to really increase retention rates and also serve as a wonderful marketing attraction tool to help you recruit new talent to your company, because you're really signaling to them, come work for us. We have a robust professional development plan for you to increase your skills, grow your wages and your talent. We're going to be committed to you for multiple years doing that often. So what's our role? Marshall Advanced Manufacturing Center, we're doing consulting to help your company implement these. We are working with you to customize the programs, tailor them to your company, provide you all the related training and wraparound services. We'll also coach your mentors who are going to be doing the on-the-job training for your employees to develop them in your company and grow the skills. You're taking oftentimes entry-level people and moving them up. So we're what's called a group program sponsor under the Department of Labor. So basically they have given us a mandate to go out and help companies set these up. So we're your sponsor, we're your intermediary with the Department of Labor, so you don't have to talk to them, and we'll do all your paperwork with them for you. And all this is possible. It's a no-cost program thanks to over $11 million in funding we have active right now. And it runs through mid-June 2028. So we're very pleased about that. That's not the first time we've won funding for this effort. It's the third. So we think it'll have legs and continue on past that. Talking about occupations that we can help you develop an apprenticeship for, these are all standards that industry has designed and the Department of Labor has blessed to be registered apprenticeships. So the numbers beside them often correlate to the number of hours that it takes someone to master these skills. And we help you document that employee's growth, monitor it, provide you with tools and software to do that, and regularly check in with you to help. And if you see some kind of niche skill set that your industry may have that's not represented by one of these, we can help design new occupations and map them to apprenticeships. We did this for a 3D printing technician, for example, a few years ago. We're really excited to be working with so many companies around the state. These pictures just show signing events that we do with companies when they start the program. They're a lot of fun. We treat them like athletic signing events. the employees feel special that are starting the apprenticeship training. And with that funding that the Department of Labor gave us, it was a competitive grant process last year that they designated 8 national hubs for apprenticeship, and we were the one designated for manufacturing. So we're very proud about that. And again, I explained how we're the sponsor for your company. But because we're a group sponsor nationwide, if you've got multiple locations in or outside of West Virginia, if you're part of a corporation, you know, we could do something that works, you know, nationwide for your business in multiple locations. So that's kind of neat. You know, don't have to repeat the process everywhere. The other thing we're excited to help with is to create pathways for you with other education providers. You know, you're working with Marshall, but we're happy to help collaborate with local high schools and community colleges that are in your backyard perhaps, and take their programs, use them as well, and they can become pre-apprenticeship feeders for you. So these students that are going through manufacturing skills trades at, say, the local high school community tech center, they can be mapped to your company's apprenticeship program. So you can hire them, and they can jump up a few ladders into the program and get a head start. And it creates a great win for the student, and the school, and your company. And we were setting that up all over the state. We've got over 42 companies enrolled in this and growing around West Virginia. And the federal government is putting a ton of resources and impetus behind this type of program. President Trump did an executive order this spring on skills trades. And if you read that, it basically just mirrors our website's apprenticeship discussion and our program. So we're very excited to align well with that. And he's really set some huge goals for the federal government on apprenticeship. And he's really pushing state and local organizations to follow suit. It's kind of an all-of-government approach to promote apprenticeships to help, again, be part of the workforce solution that we all need. Did I mention this program's free for the next few years? We're really excited to set up these other pipelines with you and other schools that you may work with. In May, we signed an agreement with the State Department of Ed to work with their career tech centers to align their manufacturing skills programs as pre-apprenticeships. Again, helping you map out the skills they're learning in high school and how that matches with an apprenticeship you would have inside your company. So our motto is let's get to work, and let's get down to it, panel, and talk about your experience. Don't want to hear it all from me. They want to hear from you. Kim, you've been at this for over a year now. How did you get to this place? How did you get to realize that apprenticeship would be a solution for your workforce?
Well, our company had actually had an internal training program for many years. When COVID struck, of course, that program was paused. When I was hired in 2022, that program was still dormant. So my first objective was to bring these training programs back up for our maintenance team and our electrical team. When we brought those programs up, I started getting a lot of feedback from the employees, from managers, supervisors. They had a lot of suggestions, and I wanted to hear them. So what I was hearing was, we'd like our program to be completely on-site. Previously, the employees had to go off-site for testing. They wanted something that they could do completely at our site. And the other thing that I was hearing was we had some skills gaps with our internal program. It was a very good program, but the OJT part on the job training was leaving a little bit of gaps there because there wasn't a lot of defined skills. So they wanted to better define what they were doing on the job. The third thing was the related training. They wanted to have more on-site training and more hands-on training than what the internal program was offering. And then the fourth thing was they wanted something that meant something outside of the walls of our plant. They wanted a credential that, was nationally recognized. So what I was hearing was, we want an apprenticeship program. Apprenticeship fit all of those things that they were asking for. With my previous experience in higher ed, of course, I knew that MAMC did apprenticeships. I knew they did it well. So I made a phone call, and we got together, and we were able to solve all of these issues that were brought to me. We actually ended up launching 2 pre-apprenticeship programs, 3 registered apprenticeship programs, and also we built an educational pathway to degree for the employees. So that's been going very, very well. And we also were able to offer a lot of customized training with additional credentials. So they do have the apprenticeship program, but they also have welding certifications that we offer, certifications in rigging and lifting, crane repair, crane inspection, railroad inspection. So along the way, they earn a lot of these nationally recognized credentials that kind of ends in an associate's degree if they decide to follow that path that's built. The programs that we have built here in West Virginia, we have 25 global locations. This has become the global standard for our company.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's
Yes.
clearly, they've
Yes.
taken note, and this could be something that can apply at other locations for your corporation.
Yes, so this is the training model for our company now. Once we implemented this and I presented this globally, it was quickly adopted that this is a good idea.
That's exciting. We're happy to work with you. James, you're a little bit newer in this apprenticeship program. You got thrust into leadership at your family's companies with the passing of your late father, W. Quay Mole II, in 2023. And when you stepped into leadership, what were you seeing with your workforce needs that led you to apprenticeship?
So we've really been trying to evaluate since 2020 what we can do to bridge the gap between the high schools and the skills that we need in the machine shop. So we build very specialized equipment. Some of the stuff we build is 100,000 pounds. So it's big, there's lots of setups, not a lot of automation in equipment that size yet. So since 2020, we had an internal program, but we wanted to kind of take it to the next level. We need more structure, we need more online classes, and I've been involved with MAMC since 2018. So last year, I think we started the conversation maybe around April, talking to Derek, Carol, and everyone at the MAMC, hey, how do we get this program started? So similar to Kim, we have multiple facilities between Ohio and West Virginia. We started with the West Virginia facilities. And we announced it at the Christmas party last year, and there was a lot of excitement. We had 13 people in the first class on the West Virginia side and 6 on the Ohio side. So we were really excited about that first class. We rolled it out in West Virginia in April of this year, and so far, it's only been 4 or 5 months. The apprentices think that the user interface of Tooling U, which is the online portion of the apprenticeship program, is very simple to use. The curriculum is all applicable, so you go through and you select classes that are relevant for the skills that you want to teach, and that's during the onboarding process, which we did last year. So far the feedback has been really good from our apprentices. The blueprint reading, the mathematics, the geometry, everything's applicable to what they're learning. And there's also a safety element as well that all of our apprentices have to go through. Why MAMC? The team is excellent. I mean, anyone who goes through the onboarding process, they make it so seamless. The team really cares about what they're doing. They go above and beyond to explain to you every phase of the apprenticeship program. We couldn't have been happier with the onboarding process.
Appreciate that. Thinking about leading up to apprenticeship, was there any, we'll start with you, James, was there any misconceptions or misunderstandings that maybe you or other people at your company had about what this program would entail?
Yeah, so whenever we first talked about it at the leadership team, probably last February, there was some concern about the administrative functions and the complexity of launching a program like this and managing all the apprentices. And then there was also some concern from older leadership that maybe we weren't going to have people interested. And right away, we had talking to Derek, Carol, and the rest of Team AMC. They explained the process on the first phone call, and we're like, well, this is easy. We don't even need to hire anybody. I mean, a lot of this is self-managed. The employees and apprentices, they log into Tooling U, and a lot of it's self-guided. So, from an administrative standpoint, we didn't need to hire anybody. A lot of it was up to the employees to go through the process themselves. We keep track of the hours that they work for on the job, but with our software, that's all automated anyways. So I think that was the biggest misconception that our team had, was just the complexity and the administrative function, which ended up being a lot less than we had thought.
Kim, same question to you. Was there any apprehension or concerns or questions about what's this going to be like? How's this going to work?
Well, I think there's a misconception sometimes on unionized facilities. We are a unionized facility, and I think some believe that if you have a union that you can't host an apprenticeship program. Not true, of course. We offer several. But the way that we did that, I met with the president of the union, first thing, and I said, here's what I'm hearing. Is this what you're hearing? And we worked together to resolve those issues and actually built the program together. So it was a really good partnership between the company, the union, the supervisors, the managers, our engineers were all involved in customizing this apprenticeship and making it what we need it to be. So that heavy involvement with the union president, I think really helped with the buy-in. When we first launched this program, it was completely voluntary. They could stay in the internal program if they wished to do so. We didn't require anyone to sign up. 100% of our folks are signed up. They chose to participate. The union president was actually our first apprentice. He was the first to sign up and kind of led the way for the rest of the apprentices. I meet with the union committee. We meet once a month, and we sit down. We talk about any problems or issues, or if there's any apprentices that need support. They're very good at providing that peer support that some of the folks need, or do some extra tutoring or whatever's needed. So I do think that if you work closely with your union and work together in creating these programs, that's absolutely not going to be a barrier.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think a lot of people do get confused about that part. And the vast majority of companies that are doing apprenticeships with us aren't unionized, and it works fine for them. But hearing your explanation that it can work in that environment as well, and in a collaborative way, so that's good to share. Thanks. So what's it like day to day, though? Can you help paint that picture? What's it like day to day for the apprentices? How does it function for you as a supervisor in the HR kind of capacity too? Can you highlight some of that for the group?
But they have specific competencies that they do on the job, and these competencies were actually identified by the employees who completed the internal program in cooperation with supervisors. So throughout the day, they have their checklists of competencies. They are out on the job with their mentors, learning the skills, getting checked off on those certain skills. And they come and see me when they are ready to do their related training. We offer customized training regularly, in person, on site. In fact, MAMC sends their welding instructor once a month, spends 2 days a month on our site doing welding, certifying our employees. And And actually, we open this to everybody because welding is a really important skill for us. We call it welding with Brad. So, yeah, they love Brad. So we try to offer as many in-person customized classes as we can, but they also have Tool and You for online. So we try to offer a variety of formats for their training.
Okay. That's interesting. James, you're just getting started, but how do you see it working day to day and between your multiple sites too?
So from an administrative standpoint, we can log into Tooling U and we can see how the apprentices are progressing. And as we get further along, let's say we're 9 months from the program, we're going to follow up with those apprentices that might be behind where they need to be on a 4-track year, and maybe give them time in the at work to go through some of their Tooling U classes. But what we're seeing so far in the students that are self-motivated, we're already seeing them getting better at blueprint reading. We're seeing them getting better at mathematics skills, which is really exciting because of the parts that we build are very complicated. The drawings are sometimes very difficult to read, older drawings. And what we're already seeing from the students who have started their courses is that they are starting to learn things through Tooling U.
That's neat. You do certainly need a lot of precision work at your shop. It's really impressive. They rebuild just this enormous steel equipment, do a lot of galvanized products and machining, things like that. They've got lathes about as big as this room practically that you can walk inside. So you've got a lot of exciting growth plans for your company, James. How do you see this helping you with the workforce side of that growth?
Well, so I see there's 3 major benefits of this apprenticeship program. So from the customer standpoint, we're a family-owned business, and our customers love to see that we're investing in our workforce, we're investing in our future, because then they know that they have a partner that'll be here for a long time. We've been around since 1961, now 3rd generation, and in the last 2 years, we've seen explosive growth in sales. The thing that's holding us back is the growth in production. In our region, at least, there's a plethora of people that want to work, but they don't have the skills to be a machinist. Well, now we have the apprenticeship program that they can go through, and then they'll have the skills. The second benefit is to the employees. So our employees, after they complete this program, will be journeyman machinists, so they'll have their DOL card, which is good in anywhere in the country. But they feel comfortable, they'll feel confident that they know, when they come to work, that they know how to do their job and they know how to do it well. Something that we saw was a lot of the newer, greener people, we'll call them, that we were hiring were nervous. They were asking, a lot of questions 2 and 3 times, because some of the material that we work on is, could be upwards of $250,000 for one forging. So a lot of these younger, greener kids were very nervous about making cuts and doing different things. So our hope is that as they progress through this apprenticeship program, they become more confident and more comfortable knowing that what they're doing is right. And the benefit to the employer is that we have a workforce that we can rely on. They make less mistakes, they're more efficient, become more profitable. As we become more profitable, we can buy more machines. As we buy more machines, we need to hire more people. So it really, across the board, brings a whole bunch of benefits to your organization.
Thanks. It's exciting to see what you've got in motion. Kim, your factory's been operational for over 100 years now, so sustaining that workforce and the skills, how do you see that progressing?
Sure. Well, right now we have 23 employees engaged in pre-apprenticeship and our apprenticeship programs. We recently did a production analysis on downtime and production, and what we saw was, in those areas where we had apprenticeship, industrial electricity, industrial maintenance, machining, we were seeing really good improvements there, improved downtime, improved production. But where we saw the most opportunity is where we don't have an apprenticeship program, where we're not focusing a lot of our training. That's in our furnace departments. So currently, we are working with MAMC to develop a furnace operator apprenticeship program to implement there. Nationally, our next site is South Carolina. We're going to implement a heavy equipment operator apprenticeship in South Carolina. Globally, we're going to mirror our electrician and maintenance mechanic programs to our site in South Africa. Now I know they can't be registered, of course, but we can mirror the program and the structure and content there.
That's a good segue. Our team does travel. We visit these sites and work. Unfortunately, we can't serve South African division. We'll work on that maybe, but you know, just and in closing, I just want to say, you know, let us come visit you. Please stop by, see our booth, talk to our team, especially reach out to Carol Howerton, our workforce director, Heather Cooper, our apprenticeship unit director, and you know, we'll make time to send a team to your plant, sit down with you, understand your needs, show you what's on offer in these apprenticeships, and customize and tailor those to what your business would most be beneficial with, and work with your local education providers in the region to be very much collaborative supports to this program, and everybody will win with that work. But you know, our motto is let's get to work, and we're ready to roll up our sleeves to help you with your workforce challenge. So give us a call. Thanks.
I just need video evidence for my mother why I missed my grandma's birthday party today. So if everybody could smile, let her know that you all came here just to see me, right? So there we go. Thank you for that incredible discussion. Good morning. I'm Ben Williams with College Board, and it's my privilege to introduce our next discussion shaping tomorrow's West Virginia, the essential role to education. I'm also going to ask our panelists to come up to the stage while I introduce them. Dr. Sarah Armstrong Tucker serves as the Chancellor for both the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission and the Community and Technical College System, the first person and first woman to hold both roles. Sarah leads efforts to boost the number of West Virginians with a post-secondary credential through the CLIMB initiative. She has strengthened partnerships with business and industry, secured millions in federal grants to support dislocated workers, and championed student success reforms that earned national recognition. Michelle Blatt is the 34th State Superintendent of Schools in West Virginia. She has enjoyed a distinguished career in education with more than 30 years of experience as a teacher, principal, and supervisor. Her professional focus has centered on turning around low-performing schools, supporting district leadership, and providing a variety of strategies and resources to meet the individual needs of students. Michelle has also been well recognized for the relationships she has built across the state with state legislators, county superintendents, the business community, and various organizations and associations. Dr. Jacob Mishuk is the Senior Director of Policy and Advocacy at the College Board, a mission-driven nonprofit that works with over 7 million students annually to expand access to college and career opportunities. Jacob leads the organization's policy strategy to support the expansion of advanced placement opportunities, particularly in rural and underrepresented communities. Prior to his time with College Board, he served as a senior policy analyst at Achieve, where he focused on assessment and accountability systems that support rigorous outcomes for all students. Dr. Tucker, I'll allow you to take over.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to take just a quick minute to thank Steve and Kaylin and all of the chamber staff for putting together this wonderful event. It's a lot of work, and you guys do it very, very well. So I appreciate it. We all appreciate it very much. So thank you. We've heard throughout the past several days a lot about the importance in education and building a workforce and workforce development. We're lucky in West Virginia that we have a really strong system of career technical education within our K-12 system, a strong system of 9 public community and technical colleges that work together to try to help you meet your workforce needs, and an incredible system of 10 public higher education colleges and universities. All of these organizations are working together collaboratively to try to make sure that we offer you all, the business leaders in the state, the programs that you need in order for you to be successful. We understand that it's our collective students that are going to build your pipeline, and we want to make sure that we're doing a good job of providing that pipeline to you. So this morning, our panel will talk about the collaboration that occurs between our organizations. Dare I say, I will refer to her as a superintendent, but Michelle and I are actually friends, and we like each other, and we talk to each other about things, and when we have problems with our students, we call each other to figure out how to solve those problems, which is not something that's common amongst education leaders across this country, which is unfortunate. But we are lucky that the two of us are able to get along as well as we do and work together to try to solve the problems of our state. So Superintendent, I'm going to turn this over to you because you have a lot of great news to talk about.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you all for the invitation for us to be here this morning. And we are really excited in our K-12 system about the positive momentum and things that we have going right now. West Virginia was just recognized as the second state, number 2 in the nation for continuous improvement in our ELA scores in our students as we begin to progress through 3rd through 8th grade. And so we're really excited about that. We had sustained growth over those 3 years, and we continue to see that when we were able to release our data for this past year, where we saw increases across all of our grades in ELA, math, and science. And so one of our superintendents reached out to me after we released our data, and he said, I think we have everybody moving in the same direction. And that is what is so important as they progress through the K-12 to the CTCs, to the universities, and then into the workforce, that we have to have everyone moving in the same direction. And so we're excited about that, and that all came from the support not only from our Board of Education, making a big focus to get back to the basics and make sure our students had the foundational learning blocks that they needed to begin their careers in school and then further them in further education and in the workforce. And so that began with our legislature passing the 3rd Grade Success Act. And we're thankful for the money that they've invested in that because it has allowed us to really focus in our K-3 work in math and reading and making sure our students have the interventions and improvements in place to be successful as they move into middle school, high school, and then further careers. So I'm going to quickly jump into middle school because I want to hit all of the areas. Middle school has been an area that we've really turned our focus to over the past year because we've not been able to see the engagement and the improvements that we want there. And so we're in our 2nd year of piloting actual CTE programs in our middle schools. So we've went from career exploration to actual hands-on experiences for our middle school students. And we have partnerships across the state. We're working with the Public Education Collaborative at West Virginia University. We're working with the Education Alliance. We're working with the Marshall Flight School, President Smith, with our aviation programs and getting those introductions in place. And so we're excited about really digging into that middle school curriculum and continuing to expand that for improvement, which then brings us to our high school. And at our high schools, our partnerships that we have across the state with our career and technical education programs and the work that we're doing to really show our students that you can take an AP course and also be in a career pathway in a CTE center. It's not one or the other anymore. And I think that's made a huge impact across the state on how our students see the careers and things that are available for them. So one of the things that we measure when we do our balanced scorecards that we report out on, that will be at our September board meeting, is how each of our high schools are preparing our students to be college or career ready. And that metric looks at the number of AP courses they've taken, dual enrollment courses, and then the career pathways that they are on to see are we preparing seniors to really move into the next phase of their life? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jacob and get his perspective from College Board on those programs that we are highlighting at the high school level.
Thank you so much, Superintendent, and let me offer my congratulations on the great work. And it's such an amazing thing to see when everybody's rowing in the same direction. It's wonderful. So this is a great time to have this conversation. I live in Maryland. It's the first week of school, and I have 2 daughters, and I've got the double transition. I got my older daughter going into high school, and my younger daughter going into middle school. So there are a lot of feelings this week. So thank you for inviting me here. No, it's great. It's going really well. They're both really enjoying it.
Your wife's really happy.
Oh yeah, she's Please do not record this. So I was on my way here. It's about 4 or 5 hour drive, and I decided to call the one person who I knew would answer me midday on a Wednesday, and that's my mom. And I was talking to her about coming to this event with all the businesses, this great event, and I realized that she was a clinical psychologist for about 35 years, and she had her own practice. She wasn't part of a hospital or any system. And so I said, Mom, I always thought of you as a psychologist, but what I didn't think of you as was a small business owner. What was that like? And she said, that's a great question. I had no skills coming out. She was brilliant. She finished her PhD program. She was like in her mid-20s. She had all the academic credentials, but she did not know the first thing about running a business. Bookkeeping, advertising, renting space, ordering tests, all these things. And it wasn't until she was able to hire a really skilled bookkeeper and assistant that it really turned around for her. And so, and she said, she wishes she would have had a class in high school or college that would have taught her these skills. And so in some ways there's parallels there to what the College Board is doing, right? We've offered 40 AP courses. They offer college credit. It's wonderful. We've had, 5 million plus exams, more than 2 million students, and we're really proud of that. But what we haven't done as great a job at doing, and we're doing now, is really making that connection more explicitly to career. And we're doing that starting next school year with the introduction of 2 new courses. One, which I think will be relevant for this, both will be relevant for this group. One is our AP Business with Personal Finance course, and the other is an AP Cybersecurity course. And I know from having been here last year at this meeting and this year that West Virginia really leads in cybersecurity, and of course it leads in business as well. And so some things are similar about these courses. They are courses that offer college credit, just like any AP course. They are AP courses. What's different is we are expanding our project-based learning as part of this. So they're like in the business course, there'll be case studies. Students will build their own business plan. It's aligned to all the personal finance standards that are offered. And I know that West Virginia recently passed a law requiring personal finance education, which is great. And believe me, I would have greatly benefited from personal finance education in high school. And it also, we're also explicitly connecting with the business world. We're offering an industry-recognized credential as part of these courses, which we're really excited about. And so we're actually explicitly partnering with business in ways that we haven't necessarily done in the past. We've always connected with higher ed, of course, on any course, and we continue to do that. But this is a real opportunity for us to have students learn those career-ready skills that they need to succeed. And so we're really excited about these 2 courses, and it's part of our Career Kickstart initiative, and we'll probably be continuing to develop courses as we go along. So we're really excited about that. So I'll turn over to Dr. Tucker. Similarly, I know that higher ed in West Virginia is also making these connections to the workforce. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So for those of you who know me know that I have been doggedly going after one number. The number is 47%. 47% is our college going rate in the state of West Virginia. That is the percent of high school graduates who go on to any higher education training in the state of West Virginia or in other states. 2-year, 4-year, in-state, out-of-state, 47%. That means that 53% of our high school students are not pursuing some form of post-secondary education. And while some of them are absolutely going into careers because they were trained through the Career Tech Ed Centers to have great jobs, The vast majority are not. And so where is that 53% going? What's happening to them? And so we poll our high school seniors every few years. We've done this for at least a decade now. And we ask them, what is your number one barrier to success? What's the number one reason that you think perhaps you can't go on to attain a post-secondary credential? And every single year, the answer is the same. It's the cost of attendance. But I want to say it's the perceived cost of attendance. It's not the actual cost of attendance. Because when we ask those kids how much it actually costs to go to higher education, they quote us enormous numbers, when in fact the tuition in West Virginia is very low in comparison to other states. And so we're trying to think about ways that we can combat this cost of attendance, because if we don't, you all are not going to be able to get the workforce that you need. The existing jobs in West Virginia, more than 60% of them require some form of post-secondary education training. That could be a certificate, a skill set, a micro-credential, an associate degree, a baccalaureate degree, a master's degree, or higher. But more than 60% are requiring that type of education, and only 47% of our students are going on to post-secondary education. So there's a problem, there's a disconnect. So how do we solve that problem? Well, I was pleased to see that the Chamber put out as one of their initiatives this year, FAFSA completion. FAFSA completion is something that we work really hard on. So the FAFSA is the form, if you all have not had kids that are in high school recently or have grandchildren that have complained about it, it's the form that unlocks federal financial aid. But in West Virginia, it's also the form that unlocks state financial aid. So we have a ton of state financial aid programs here in West Virginia to make college affordable for our students. And we just need to make sure that students know that they can receive that money. And so we've worked really, really hard with FAFSA completion workshops. My office did more than 200 of them last year alone to make sure that our high school students knew that there was money for them to go to college. And I'm proud to say that West Virginia was recognized as having the 15th highest FAFSA completion rate this last year, which is huge. And I was really excited about 15th, but I'm competitive. So I looked at the other 14 states that were ahead of us, and turns out 13 of those 15 states have requirements for FAFSA completion written into their high school diploma. We don't. So we just crushed it, and we didn't even have a mandate to do it. So I was thrilled with that number and thrilled with that recognition, and we know that once we get students to fill out the FAFSA and they see how much money they can get, they're going to be more likely to go to college. But we also know that there are initiatives that we can undertake that make it easier. One of those, very clear data points, is if you take an AP course or a dual enrollment course in high school, you are significantly more likely to matriculate onto college. That is true for every demographic. That is true for every socioeconomic status. You almost more than double for low-income students their likelihood of going to college if you take an AP course or a dual enrollment course. And there are lots of states across this country that have really well-articulated dual enrollment and AP programs. In West Virginia, what we have historically done is that there is a line through the dreaded school aid funding formula that goes out to county superintendents, and the county superintendents are responsible for allocating this small amount of money to students for them to take a dual enrollment or an AP course. And of course, because it's a restricted amount of money, you have to put restrictions around who can take the AP course or the dual enrollment course. So we ended up with students who were, 3.5 GPA or higher can have access to these courses. Well, those kids, that's great. That's wonderful. But those kids were already going to go to college. And what we needed were the other kids to go to college. We needed the other students to see themselves as potential community college students or potential baccalaureate students to get their foot in the door. So with the help of the legislature, we started a dual enrollment initiative, and now the state is paying for our students to take dual enrollment courses at our public higher education institutions. So we're in our second year of this pilot. Last year, we had 4,600 students in 52 counties, and this year we have 7,100 students in 55. This initiative is just going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to get students' foot in the door. But what I love about the dual enrollment program is that it's tied to a career path. So you aren't just taking a random course in English or a random course in history. You're taking a bundle of courses that are within a major that are going to get you into the workforce. When I go out and talk to students about what they're thinking about, why do you want to go, what are your plans? What do you want to see in the future? They want it to be tied to jobs. It's very different than when I went to college. I went to college thinking about what my dorm was going to look out over, right? I mean, I was very much into the extra fancy stuff that college could provide you. What does the gym look like? What kind of pool do they have? Those aren't our kids anymore. Those aren't our kids. Our kids now are really, really interested in what the job at the end of the road is going to be, and is it going to help them earn an income. And so we as higher education institutions and as K-12 and as AP, as all of us are talking about, we have to shift the way that we talk about these opportunities to make sure that we're meeting kids where they are. And the last initiative that I will talk about, and I'm going to pass it back to these guys. It's interesting, Derek, that your group came up and talked about apprenticeships this morning. My staff knows never to send me to a conference because I come back with like 50 ideas that I want to implement. And last week I had the opportunity to go to Oxford and learn about apprenticeships in the UK. And in West Virginia, we have this wonderful, wonderful program. I would hold it up against any program anywhere in the country. It's our Learn and Earn program. It's a 50-50 wage match between business and industry in the state of West Virginia for students who are in our community and technical colleges going through a program, and then they intern with the company. And we have Learn and Earns in a whole series of industries here in West Virginia. I'll just name a few: aerospace, automotive repair, business, the chemical industry, construction, education, energy, healthcare, HVAC, IT, and manufacturing. And it's a great program, and our students do terrifically in it. But it's only for community college students. And I have struggled to figure out what would it look like to implement a similar program at our baccalaureate institutions. And so when I went to Oxford, I had the great privilege of going to the Dyson facility. And I learned about how Dyson is doing engineering programs for their students. And what they do is a cohort. So they have 33 students, and it's an apprenticeship in England. They have 33 students who go in on day one, and they work 2 days a week, much like the model that Bridge Valley has established with Toyota. 2 days a week in the classroom in block classes, and then 3 days working for the Dyson facility. They just graduated their first cohort less than 6 months ago, and those students have already saved the company more than $150 million. There is no reason in the world that we can't do something like that here in West Virginia. So I have already talked to the president of Marshall about this. I've already talked to Thrasher about this to see if there are some ways that we might be able to think about how we can provide these opportunities for our students, because they need to be able to work while they're going to school. We all know that there's a national debt conversation happening that we want to avoid, and our students do have very low debt compared to the national average, but we need to figure out ways to get our students embedded in programs, and we need your help to do that, right? I know that higher ed can be intimidating. I know we can be. I know it's tough to crack that shell and figure out what we could do or what we should do or how we can partner, but I have a secret. Higher ed finds you all intimidating too, right? We don't know your business. We don't know your model. We don't know your plan. We don't know what you need. And so the more we can sit down and have opportunities like this and talk through what we can do together, the better off our students are going to be, the better off our state's going to be, and the better off this pipeline is going to be.
Just to kind of add to that, when we were speaking of the apprenticeships, so we were the second state to be recognized to create the apprenticeship for teachers. And so that's one of the dual enrollment pathways that our students can take, where they can get those 2 years of coursework completed, and that we can meet the need that we have in the pipeline for our teacher shortages. Something else that we do, though, in our career tech centers and through those pathways is we prepare our students to be certified nationally. So for all of the different industries and career pathways that we have in our CTE centers, our students take the NOCTI test. And it's a nationally recognized test created by each individual industry and business as to what are the skills that are needed for those students to be successful. And 60% of our students that go through those programs have exceeded the workforce standards that have been set by that program. So we have continued to try to build upon what are those skills that our students need, the apprenticeships opportunities, the internship opportunities, and things that we have available for our students, so that we can continue to grow this pipeline, to work through these things that we know our state needs. Another thing with our career and technical education centers is the connections that we have with workforce and with the local businesses and industries. Clinton Birch oversees our pre-K-12 and career engagement work at the Department of Education, and he has great relationships. Probably many of you know him. But we try to customize the pathways and the programs that we offer at our various centers across the state, as does Sarah with the CTCs, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the local communities and things that we serve. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's also that we are engaged in, but there's a lot more opportunities to partner and grow this work.
Yeah, just to pick up on that, you know, we talk a lot at College Board about relevance. So, and students are savvy. I think what you said, students know now, they know, I think, the direction of where they want to go. They know that they're focused on career. They know that and they're sparked by courses in high school, whether that's dual enrollment, advanced placement, a traditional high school class. They hone in on it. They can see what's relevant to them, and that's why we're really excited about some of the new courses we're going to offer. But they also need guidance. There are more than 1 million credentials out there, right? And so there's a discussion around credentials of value. So how do you, and that's really hard to navigate. So it's a lot about helping, like, students, I think, know what they want, but they need that guidance to find that path through. So I think we as institutions we're really doing a much better and I think great job at finding those relevant courses and pathways that are going to really appeal to students, and they still need guidance and direction on, as you make your way through those pathways, to have credentials and other signals to employers that those are authentic signals of value, so that students can continue, so that students can actually be successful and not just go down. We don't want students going down pathways that are dead ends. We want them to have pathways to careers that are going to be meaningful for them and making them and their families economically secure.
Well, and piggybacking off of that, you know, a lot of this conversation has been about sort of traditional K-12 students, but when I heard the story about your mother, I thought, well, gosh, she really could have used a micro-credential in business. Or
entrepreneurship.
And entrepreneurship, and so that's part of the work that we're trying to do too, right? I mean, we have this population of students, and I learned this when I was in Oxford as well. They have this incredible apprenticeship program, but the vast majority of students that they're putting through apprenticeships are not new students. They're skilling up their existing workforce. They need things like, you all will be shocked to hear this, I know, supervisory training, right? And they need opportunities for their employees to skill up in IT, and so they've created these apprenticeship programs so that their students or their current employees can get the skills that they need in order to stay relevant for their workforce. And that's not unlike what we're trying to do here with microcredentials. We have several institutions. Microcredentials, just as a quick blurb, are sort of short-term skill set programs that students can take, aren't necessarily tied to a degree. So imagine that your company had a major IT upgrade and you suddenly needed to make sure that all of your employees knew what, you know, how to use that new platform, what that new platform was. You could go to one of our higher education institutions and they could help you figure out how to develop that training and provide all of your employees that work. I think about this a lot for teacher education. And I do that because my husband's a public school teacher, so I think a lot about public K-12, and he loves it when he has the opportunity to take a skill set in how do you deal with kids that have behavior problems, because perhaps that wasn't part of his traditional K-12 training that he got when he was in college. How can you think about using these micro-credentials to provide our teachers in the state with some of the important information that they need that maybe they didn't get when they were going through their education and training the first time? What other opportunities do we have? What opportunities do we have for the social work population, for example? How can we better help DHS make sure that they have the employees that they need and the trained skill sets that they need in order to help our most vulnerable populations? And so I actually think AP could have the College Board could have a really great role to play in helping to provide some of those skill sets and micro-credentials for our adult students, which isn't necessarily the way that we've historically thought of some of that work.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know we're coming up on time in a little bit, so I'll just end by first saying thank you. I think this has been just a great discussion. And we, I think AP, College Board with our AP program, we've served a certain kind of student very well. a student who is 4-year college bound, and that's great. In some ways, we've contributed to the problem sometimes. Students taking lots and lots of AP courses, but just to burnish their college credentials and get in. And the research shows that after the first and second AP course is really the best return in terms of seeing later success in college. After 5 or 6, this is not helpful. And so we want to sort of say it's okay to take AP courses, take other college credit courses like dual enrollment. You don't have to overload on that. But then on the other side, to really reach out to those students who have not had an opportunity to take a college level course, whether that's AP or dual enrollment. How do you get a student to take that first course to really spark them? Students, of course, young people will surprise us. They're so excited. I think this business course with the entrepreneurship focus is going to bring a lot of new students, and that's our real focus right now. New students who would not have been engaged in this process, who, to your earlier point about students who are not going on to higher education, how do you spark that set of students to do that? And we're really excited about these courses doing that. And we're also interested in new ideas. We're exploring health sciences. Our career kickstart is going to start with cybersecurity and business. We're going to have a networking class to come along with the cybersecurity. But we're looking at an agriculture-focused course. We're looking at health sciences. So we're always interested to hear about that. But again, I think we're all, as you were saying, your system's rolling in the right direction. I think this shows that our organizations are doing so as well.
Will, and I'll just add on to that when you talked about your finance and the different pieces and things and the opportunities for all students. I think the fact that we offer the SAT, or we require the SAT for all of our 11th graders, multiple principals over the years since we've started doing that have said to me, students have said, oh, I didn't think I could go to college. And would have never taken the SAT on their own, but since it's the 11th grade exam for all of our students, that's opened up a lot of opportunities, I think, as well, and gave students the ability to see that they can make a difference and they can go on and do something and be successful.
I also want to thank you all for tolerating us for the last half hour, listening to us. I will say that we have a lot of college presidents in the audience right now. And that shows their dedication to the business community in the state of West Virginia, trying to make sure that our students have everything that they need in order to be successful for the rest of their lives. It's an honor to get to work with all of them, and I hope that you all reach out to your local college and we will help you in any way we can provide the workforce that you need in order to be successful. So thank you.
Thank you to Chancellor Tucker, Superintendent Blatt, and Jacob. That was a great panel and inspiring, so thank you. Good morning. I'm Amelia Farrell-Nicely. I am a reporter at West Virginia Watch, and I am really thrilled and honored to host this last panel called Coming Home, Finding Success in West Virginia. And really cannot think of a more joyful way to end our time here than to talk about why we love West Virginia and we're proud to live here and invest here. And this panel is also personal to me. I am from West Virginia. I'm from Rand. If you're a sports fan, Rand U. And I got my degrees, excuse me, here in West Virginia and moved away with my husband to Nashville. And I was able to come back in 2019 with a reporting fellowship to write about poverty on the southern coal fields, and then was able to build my reporting career here and raise my 3 daughters here. And I am so, so proud to call West Virginia home. So with that said, I want to introduce our great panelists today. Right here to my left is Ed Ryan. He is a seasoned leader in global trade operations and compliance, and he's currently serving as a senior manager for North America trade operations at Lululemon. I'm sure all the women's ears perked up just now. He has extensive experience with both the private sector and government, and he spent 4 years at Amazon during the COVID-19 pandemic. Thanks for being here. Next is Wendy Goodenough. She is the CEO of Digit3. It's a West Virginia-based technology and cybersecurity company that she co-owns with her husband, Brad. The company is headquartered in Huntington and has business operations throughout the state. Wendy is a proud graduate of Marshall University and the Ohio State University Moritz College of Law, and she is also a 2024 Leadership West Virginia graduate. And finally, Chris Weichel is the Director of Government Affairs for Expand Energy, and they're the largest natural gas producer in the United States. He oversees government relations in Ohio and West Virginia and works with a team to handle the federal activity. He has experience working for all three branches of government in West Virginia. Wow, you survived. Before beginning his work in the private sector, and we're so thrilled to have all of you here with us today. Thank you so much. So let's start out with why you left. Let's start with you, Wendy. Tell us what prompted you to leave West Virginia. What drove you to make that decision?
Well, can I go with young and dumb? Does that work?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that I really wanted to go to the big city, and I wanted to go to a big school. I wanted to go to a big university. I thought the grass would be greener there, but I also I thought there'd be a lot of opportunity there, and there was. So I left and I went to the Ohio State University, where I pursued degrees in communication and business. Came back to Marshall for my master's, got a master's in political science, interned with the West Virginia Supreme Court, and that was my catalyst to go to law school. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer at that point. And again, I went back to a big university. I was drawn to the opportunities and the possibilities that a big school had to offer. And I didn't come back here after I graduated from law school because I was recruited. I was a divorce attorney in Troy, Ohio. I had a great job. I was recruited my first year of law school, and I loved it. I was pretty good at it, and I liked it. So that's why I left.
And what about you, Chris?
Yeah, thanks. First, I just want to recognize Amelia and the wonderful work that she has done for the members of our community that don't have a voice for themselves. The reporting that she does is amazing, and she doesn't get the credit she deserves. So I just wanted to take a second to recognize her. Second, I want to apologize to you guys. I feel like Steve and the chamber and them set up this panel as a chance to try to get Rich Rodriguez here to talk about why he left, why he came back, but he obviously was not available. There's a big game tomorrow, so you're stuck with us. But the reason I left is actually very similar to why I think Coach Rodriguez left. He felt underappreciated, he felt underpaid and undervalued here by people that were outside the state. The executives at the company that I work for, they were in Houston, the senior VPs, the directors, and everything that I thought that I wanted, the titles, the recognition was outside the state. I had lots of people here that recognized the talent that I had, but I wasn't getting the recognition that I thought I deserved. So I left the state to seek that. I got a better title for moving, got better pay, but as I think we'll talk about soon, that there were some things that were lacking. But so similar to Wendy, I felt like there was something else that I wanted, and that was outside the state.
And Ed, what about you?
Full disclosure, I was not a good high school student, but I think through the education that I received at Marshall, I just came alive with curiosity, became super interested in international trade. Unfortunately, there wasn't a master's program in the state that offered that focus, so I needed to leave West Virginia to find that education. I was able, through the academic common market, to find in-state tuition at a DC school, which was great, made it affordable, but I committed to stay. I really tried to stay during that time. So once a week, I would get on the Independence Air flight. On Tuesday morning, I would fly out to DC, and I would fly back that evening. And I was able to keep this up for nearly a year until Independence Air went belly up, probably because I booked all the $29 flights all at once for a complete year. But yeah, so at that point, I had to make a tough decision. My wife and I packed up the dog and our daughter. You know, the Nissan Sentra was full, and we just headed to Washington, D.C., kind of into the unknown, kind of scared to death. Was lucky and fortunate to get a job with U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and kind of providentially just landed right in the middle of tariff enforcement, which is kind of backed into that educational background. So I spent the next 10 years kind of moving up through the ranks of government, learning about evasion, learning about circumvention, undervaluation, import safety, intellectual property rights, and just really building up this huge kind of ammunition of knowledge that I would get to later apply in the private sector. So.
Well, now let's move to the good part when you all got to come back home. So Wendy, let's go back to you. Tell us what brought you back home to West Virginia.
Well, I like to tell people I thought the grass was going to be greener, you know, like in the big city, but there wasn't any grass. It was all concrete. So I think a couple things brought me back. I'm a lawyer by trade, but I'm also very much an entrepreneur and a businesswoman. So I was presented with an opportunity to build something, to become a shareholder in a company that was just getting started. And that was interesting to me. My dad, who's a professor at Marshall for many years, always would tell me two things growing up. I'm a runner, and he would always say, run your own race. You can't do anything about what's going on around you. You just do you. And he would always say, don't let anybody should you. Don't do something just because you feel like you should. And I was on that traditional trajectory of being a lawyer, and I loved it. I really did. But this opportunity, you know, I think when you're an entrepreneur, something just kind of burns inside you. And I had that opportunity, and I took it. I said to my husband, who's right there, or he kind of said, let's go, and we did. And I'm glad we did. So I say we took the country road less traveled, and came back here. Also, my dad was sick at the time. He had just had quintuple bypass surgery. The man is now 89 years old, so I think he fooled me. I felt like I should come back. I wanted my kids to know my parents. That was important to me. I wanted them to know their family. So he tricked me, and I listened to his advice and came back and started a company. It is not the company I have now. So it was a company that we grew from one office to, we had 36 offices in 5 states at one point. So the entrepreneurial spirit's probably what brought me back.
What about you, Chris? What brought you back to West Virginia?
I was going to use the same cliche that she did, and that the grass isn't always greener. And,
You're welcome.
And in Texas, I mean, that was definitely true because you had to overwater your lawn to make it green. But all of those things that I talked about in the first answer that I thought I wanted, the higher title, the higher pay, the more internal recognition within the organization that I was working in, was not the things that ultimately ended up making me happy. I had everything that I had wanted here before I left. I had my wife, I had my kids, I had my friends, and sorry, kind of tearing up a little bit, but I had everything that I wanted within the community of West Virginia. And it took me leaving to realize that is what I wanted, that is what I needed, and that is what motivated me. It wasn't the title, it wasn't the pay, it wasn't anything else. It was all those people that surrounded me, that loved me, and that were pushing me to be better. And that's why I came back, and I was lucky enough that my company gave me the opportunity to do that. So that's my story. So yeah.
What about you, Ed?
Yeah, I think since the day we left, it's just always been on my heart to come home. I love the pace of life here. There's no rat race. There's no beltway traffic. Yeah, the land is beautiful. I love all 4 seasons. But I think mostly I just love the people. I love the connection to the community, and just the genuine kindness. But I do feel like that decision to come home had to be my own. It had to be on my terms. But after 20 years of building up enough work experience and knowledge and connections, I was able to use that as really powerful leverage in negotiations with Lulu. I told them I'd accept the position to manage their imports within North America, contingent that I got to work remote from Charleston, West Virginia. They agreed. So I'm not an entrepreneur. I've never established a business, but what I have done is established a tax presence in the state of West Virginia for a $15 billion athleisure wear company. So, right? Yeah. So, yeah, and I think, the title of this panel is Finding Success, and I think originally I thought success would be just coming home, being able to work here. But I think what I've found is that success is really what I do now that I'm here. How do I take those connections? How do I take that network? How do I take that knowledge and apply it to the growth of the state? So,
Once you made the decision to come back to West Virginia, what were the biggest challenges that you faced, either for your business or for your family? And Ed, we'll go back to you.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge for me personally was returning to a place after 20 years that looked different. That nostalgia you had as a child, walking through the Charleston Mall, getting electric train set kit at the hobby shop, grabbing a banana milkshake at the Blossom Deli, all that was gone, But new things have come, The Capital Market's amazing, Gilmore Ballpark, to see the streets like overflowed at Regatta is just amazing. The Tour de France runs through Charleston now and blocks every single road to my house. Thank you, Mayor Goodwin. I think it's just, it's amazing, So I think the challenge for me was really that pivot, that now that I'm here, what do I do? What do I do with my skills? How do I contribute? And just seeing community leaders and state leaders and educational leaders work so incredibly hard to advance the state. I think me sitting there thinking, well, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines. I'm going to collect my remote paycheck, and I'm just going to put my feet up and watch. I think absolutely not. So I just want to encourage the folks in this room, just continue to persevere, continue to encourage folks. You've encouraged me to bring kind of my all to the state. So thank you, guys.
Wendy, what about you? What was a challenge, maybe something you didn't anticipate when you moved back?
Well, initially my husband and I, we took pay cuts. We, as I'm talking about, like, we were crazy. But we took pay cuts to come back here, and that's a big sacrifice. We were a small family, or a family of small kids, but we did that because we really wanted to come back. He's not from here. He now says he's spent more of his life here than he hasn't, so he now claims this as home as well. But that's a big sacrifice. And, on an ongoing basis, we own our own business. And we always say, you don't own the business that owns you. So I would choose every time in every lifetime to be an entrepreneur and come back here. But that's a hard gig. It's hard to compete with some of the big health systems, the university systems, the manufacturers. It's hard to compete for talent. And, it's hard to compete for market share. So that's an ongoing challenge. And I often tell you guys, I told you guys the first time we talked, I'm kind of like a unicorn. I don't think I ever expected when I got my law degree and that was placed in my hand. If you would have said to me, you're going to be a lawyer who's a female CEO of a West Virginia tech company. That was not on my bingo card. And that brings challenges with it, but it's a very welcome challenge. And, we came back here to start one company, and that wasn't enough, so we started another. So all the challenges that come with being an entrepreneur, and I think being a woman in business, but like I said, I do it every day, and I do it every day. I feel very grateful to do it.
What about you, Chris? What are some challenges that you faced returning here?
Yeah, for me, it was less in the business sense and more of the actual relocation. Coming back, the housing issues that you have. You kind of have a tier here, which are lower cost houses, and you have a tier here, and then in that middle, there's a massive gap. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. We got lucky, ended up finding a house after several months of looking and trying and having houses come off the market quickly and not be and not meet the needs of what my family needed. But the second challenge relates back to the housing issue, is that we got a house, but it needed some updates for what we wanted to do. And the cost of the contractors and the timing of the contractors. Now, we have wonderful contractors in the state. I'm not saying that, but there is a massive difference between where we were in Texas and the cost there and the cost to do those housing updates here. And I think that somewhat creates that gap in that middle tier of housing here, because people can't afford to do the updates on the houses. They can't afford to paint, to redo the carpet, to just do the touch up on the walls, because it is so expensive. And then that kind of just becomes a cycle where the house just gets older, it doesn't look as nice, so the people coming in don't see it as their forever home, and they don't want to do the work to get it there. So those are the two challenges that that we faced, we overcame them, or we're in the process of overcoming them. We're waiting to move into our house for our carpet and some other flooring and the painting and kind of touch up from the wear and tear from the previous owners. But both of those challenges were something that I guess I didn't really expect to be as big of an issue, but they were, and slowed us down getting back to West Virginia.
I relate to all of your challenges. I took a pay cut. Charleston is way different than Nashville, and finding a house was a challenge. I would like to add childcare was a challenge. When I left West Virginia, it was just my husband and I. When we returned, I had an 8-month-old, and I've now had 2 other children since then. But when you Google West Virginia childcare, the results aren't great. I've now written some of those headlines, but I'm glad that there are people in this room I know that are addressing that problem. So that's something that for me really stood out as I was thinking about relocating now with a family. Let's talk about the benefits, though, the good things about coming back here. Chris, tell us, what are some things that have really been beneficial about relocating here?
I mean, the benefits are just are immeasurable, incalculable. I didn't spend as much time away as Ed, so coming back, not a lot had changed. That's good and bad. You want to see development, you want to see growth, you want to see some changes within the community, but it was like I never left. Friends that I hadn't seen for a while just re-embraced you. And I always like to say, I mean, coming back to West Virginia, even just to visit, it's the mountains surround you, the people embrace you, and your heart just feels full because you're in almost heaven. It's just, it was like a weight was lifted off my chest coming home, and it wasn't because of the air in Houston or anything like that. It just, when you're home, you feel it. And it changes kind of the way that you operate, the way that you just act on a daily basis. And that weight on my chest, I didn't realize was there until I did come back and I was here. And it's just been such a wonderful feeling to be home. And it's been good to see a lot of friends that I hadn't seen in a while here. So it was just those the benefits of having that community. Of people that care about you, not only care about you, but care about your success, care about the success of your family, and want to see and want to see you do good. And I've already felt that in just the month that I've been back from Houston. So,
What about you, Ed? What are some of the benefits that you've had?
Yeah, I think all those things mentioned before around just the pace of life, the community, the people. I think the one thing that I wasn't expecting was really to find my purpose here in West Virginia. Obviously, getting to sit in a room full of, inspiring people and hearing just 2 days of amazing work on behalf of the state is inspiring. But I didn't know where my background in international trade could fit in with the state, So I think finding that purpose in the middle of a tariff war is not a bad place to be if you know a little bit about trade. So yeah, just obviously super excited to be where I am now.
And what about you, Wendy?
Well, I think, on the broad scale, like I got to, we only have so much time. So I got to live my life where I wanted to live it, who I wanted to live it with, doing what I wanted to do, like big picture. Two benefits, distinct benefits I had, things that I hadn't really counted on, was the depth of my bench. I knew when I came back that I would have my parents and the people that I knew before I left. I did not anticipate the broad range of people that would become my friends, the business connections that I would make. And I mean, those connections to me have been very deep and very real. I have spent chapters of my life with people. I have watched their children grow up, and they've watched my children grow up. And those relationships have been some of the biggest blessings of my life. It's been a huge benefit to come back here and have those benefits. Got a big professional network. I mean, I can look across this room. I can see Mary Breath. I can see Brad and Elise. I can see, I can see everybody. I can see Josh Baker. Jeff Harkins is here somewhere. I don't know where he is. But, deep professional and personal relationships. All my Leadership West Virginia people, I mean, shout out to you guys. I was talking the other day about how when we see each other as adults, we have like this kid on Christmas morning feeling. Like we run at each other like idiots. And we do that, and it's just amazing. And all the people here, it wouldn't matter if I was sitting up here, if Ashton was up here, if Jacqueline was up here, they'd all be here, supporting each other. And I didn't anticipate those relationships and the breadth of them and the magnitude. And those are gold. I mean, those are just gold. And the love that these people all have, all the people I just mentioned for the state of West Virginia, like how cool is that? And the other thing that happened is if I would not have come back here, my parents would not have come back here. My dad was a professor at Marshall, and they were snowbirds, and they were going to Florida. And if I wouldn't have come back, I think I would have been a divorce lawyer in Ohio, and they would have retired in Florida. And they didn't. They came back to Woodlands, which has been wonderful for them. You know, I get to spend my parents' final few years with them. I mean, what a gift. And it's very manageable for them, very quaint. They love it. Their medical providers are within 10 minutes of where they live. I can sit at my office, go pick my parents up, take them to a doctor's appointment, and go back to work. And I mean, none of those things would have happened. None of those relationships, none of that time had I not come back here. So I'm very grateful that I took the chance and that my husband took the chance, and we did what we did. So those are big blessings and big benefits.
Absolutely. One of our final questions here, why should others follow in your footsteps and come home too? And also, how can we help businesses sell the message that we all believe in? Wendy, I'll start with you.
So I heard this saying the other day, and it's probably like a famous saying and everyone knows it but me, but sometimes I'm late to the game. I went to a meeting and someone said, you come from the mountains, you can move mountains. And I love that. I thought about that, and I was like, I love the imagery of that. You come from the mountains, you can move mountains. Like, just the challenge of it, the beauty, the grit. You know, if you're going to spend your time doing something, why not spend it? Why not spend it with the people who invested in you, in the place that invested in you? And I was telling you guys I get to cheat on this because my daughter's here. She just graduated from the Ohio State University College of Law as well. And she had a lot of opportunity. She could have stayed in Columbus. And she said, you know, Mom, I'm going to build on what you and Dad have built. And I remember every time she would leave and go back to, leave here and go back to Columbus, she would always say, I miss the mountains and the people. So that's it. You know, come to the place that helped build you. Come back to the mountains. Come back to the people. Take a chance and do it. You can move mountains.
I like that. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's one for me. It relates back to like what Wendy said. What mattered to me was my family. What mattered to me was my friends. And being back in West Virginia, it allows me to spend more time with both. I'm not on the road for 45 minutes both ways each day, fighting the death trap that is I-45. It's a 10-minute commute back. It's a 10-minute commute home. So that's more time with my family. That's more time seeing my kids grow up. That's more time being with my friends and celebrating their accomplishments and having them celebrate mine. But one thing, I guess this is a charge to all of you that are the entrepreneurs, that are the hirers. Give people that have left. I mean, we all know that the best export that we have, that we've done is our people. We've exported people year in, year out. Give them a chance to come back. When you have a job opening, post it online and make sure it goes beyond just the borders, because there's a lot of people that are like us that want the opportunity to come back that may not feel like they can because they don't see those jobs that would be able to bring them back. So give them the opportunity, because the happiness that they will find here will make them some of the most productive workers you will ever find. The happiness that they'll find here, the impact that they can have on the community is very, very great, and you just got to give them a chance to come back and experience West Virginia again, because as we all did, we all wanted to do it, and it just needed that opportunity to come back and to be back in West Virginia. So give them the opportunity, allow them to come back, and you will not regret it.
What about you, Ed?
Yeah, maybe just a call for those maybe here in the crowd that grew up in West Virginia, but you find yourself in Columbus or Pittsburgh or Charlotte. Come home. Yeah, come home. Come home for the pace of life. Come home for the land and the beauty of our seasons. Come home for the people. But once you're here, like, find your purpose. And I can just tell you, just from my personal experience, being able to connect, life with work, with home, it's been just incredibly fulfilling. So I did it, and you can do it too. So come home.
Well, thank you all for being here today. We even finished early for the last panel, so they really should like us. So you did great. But I just want to thank you all for being here. I was so impressed with how much you just love what you do, and you do it so well in West Virginia. And I think sometimes there's a perception that if you live in West Virginia, you're just making do, or you had to give up so much to live here. But I love that. I think all four of us feel like we had so much to gain by being here. And that's the message that I think is so great to end our time here at the Business Summit. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, wow, that was such a good panel. I forgot that we have to keep going. Great stuff. Our final speaker is one of the most well-respected pollsters in the nation. Rex Repass is the president of Research America with offices in Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Orlando, Detroit, and Sacramento. Rex is a native of Charleston, West Virginia, and a son of Marshall University, and was part of the Young Thundering Herd. Rex is here today to present, in partnership with Metro News, the West Virginia poll, and give us some insights as we head toward next year's election. And we thank Metro News for choosing to reveal the results of their poll here on this summit stage. Take it away. We're excited.
Thank you. Appreciate that kind introduction. And Brad Smith, I see you here. Good to see you. All right. It's always good to see Brad and family here. And I appreciate the opportunity very much. And I want to thank Steve and Brian and Kathy so much. I don't know how many years this has been, but they keep asking me back. I keep trying to retire, and this is the one thing I keep loving to do. So I appreciate it very much. Also, it's important for me to mention Metro News. For about 10 years now, Metro News has been our media sponsor for the West Virginia poll. We could not do this without Metro News. And importantly, our presenting sponsor, the High Technology Foundation. And this isn't inexpensive to do this. It's something we want to do, but we have to have the support of our media sponsor and our presenting sponsor, so we appreciate that very much. We are going to talk about several things today, but we're also going to continue to release information next week on Metro News, so please be sure to check in with TJ and Dave on Talk Line next week. And when we're next week, just to tease this a little bit, we're going to be talking about some public school issues on Tuesday on Metro News. We're going to look at the satisfaction with public schools in the state. We're going to look at satisfaction with homeschooling and private education. We're also going to look at funding allocation for the Hope Scholarship. And we're also going to look at vaccine requirements in the state. So a lot of topical and interesting issues we're going to be looking at, but we're going to be talking about some of these here today too. Then on this Wednesday, we're going to be looking closely at President Trump and his administration and satisfaction and job performance, how people in West Virginia react to issues that he is putting a stake in the ground for, and that we know President Trump has a lot of support in West Virginia, but we're going to focus on issues and look at how West Virginians are responding to those. And we're looking at also a couple of other things. We got a sports question that we're going to talk about today. I always like to have one sports question, so we're going to do that. And we're going to look at some social media habits of people in West Virginia. You know, one of my colleagues here, and I think I see him out here now, and also a member of this great organization, said to me, "Are you going to be polling the Sutton County, or the Sutton, West Virginia, Braxton County mayor's race?" And I said, "I don't think we're going to do that, but we're here if you'd like for us to do it." I looked at the demographics, and there's 876 people in Sutton. I think we might be able to interview all of them and get a good reading. And I believe J.D. Hoover is the mayor there now, and we might be able to see how he may stack up in 2026. So with that, we'll start looking at some of the poll findings and also the methodology. Let me back up here. Okay, got it. So methodology. I'll just briefly talk about what we do and how we do it. The polling, as you all know, traditionally has been done by phone, also text to cell, also online. We do most of our data collection these days online or text to phone, but we have to be very careful about that because of federal regulations and getting and reaching people in their home. This study is done predominantly online, a base size of 400, and we did the interviewing over a longer period of time than we normally did. It was between August 8th and August 21st. And why do we do that? Because we reach people at different times of the day. If we only do data collection at night, we're missing a lot of people. So we do it over a longer period of time and hopefully have a better sampling of who is in our demographic profile. So looking at the demographic profile, you see that we do have a good cross-section of West Virginians. If you look at the income category, we had a mean income of about $60,000, which is pretty close to the median income in West Virginia, which I believe is about $57,000. You look at the age demographics, they match up pretty closely to the census data in the state. Also, though, they are, we do put what we call quotas against age, so we have a good sample also. And we also looked at, of course, gender and other demographic characteristics like education. So the point of that is we try to mirror as best we can the electorate, and these are registered voters in our sample. We also look at the actual registration. And as all of you know, that's changing dramatically and has been changing dramatically since 2014 in the state, and when the legislature flipped to Republican for the first time since early 1930s. So if you look at the registration from 2024 in our sampling and versus 2025, you do see a slight increase in the Republican Party registration and a slight increase in independents or other parties, and you see the Democratic Party registration declining. That is a trend that has taken place and is continuing to grow. And what is growing more than, the Republican Party is certainly growing, but also independents or other party, but specifically unaffiliated, is growing in the state. So one of the fun questions we asked this year, and this is a tough one to poll, but we thought we'd try it anyway. Who has been the best governor in your lifetime? So we wanted to take a look at that lifetime when you're talking with people that were born or at least 18 years old all the way up to 80 in our sampling frame. You're going to get a mix. But we do see that Senator Justice is perceived as the best governor in our respondents' lifetime, followed by Joe Manchin, and followed by Jay Rockefeller. And one of the things we learned here, when you look at now Senator Justice and his favorability ratings and his job performance ratings, they're all up there in the high 50s to low 60s. So there's certainly an age bias here. You see people remember what they have seen recently, but you do see Governor or Senator Justice at the top of this list. But there's some other very important governors on this list. You see Joe Manchin. What happened in 2005? Workers' comp went to a privatization of workers' comp. That was something people remember, they talk about. So he is still perceived as also a good governor in the state. You see Jay Rockefeller, who served for, 40 plus years in various offices in West Virginia, also in a position at least people remember. One I'd like to mention, though, is Oki Pattison. Oki Pattison was governor, I think, in the late 40s, early 50s, and he was really quite an impressive governor. He had, we all know the West Virginia Turnpike. He started that. He was also the commissioner of the West Virginia Turnpike after he left office. He also started the first medical school in West Virginia and had a choice of placing it in Charleston or in Morgantown. He chose Morgantown, which has obviously been very important to West Virginia University. Cecil Underwood, also youngest governor, elected at age 34, took office at age 35, and also the oldest governor, took office at age 74. So a lot of good governors, some great governors, and some that weren't so good. So, but we wanted to put this question to West Virginians, and here's what we found. We're going to do the same thing with presidents, and we're going to release that next week on Metro News. So the next question we look at is favorable and unfavorable ratings of current office holders. And these essentially are perceptions. They're measuring how likable these office holders are. And here again, you see at the top, you see Senator Justice with about a, let's see, 61% favorability rating, very high. And that has been very consistent. He's actually up about 1 point since last time we did this survey, but that's statistically not significant at all. But you see the Republican strength in this kind of poll because there's favorability ratings across the board. One of the things we did this year too was look at the 2 congressional office holders. Now how do we do that in the sampling when we have a 400 base? We screen and qualify people based on do you live in the 1st district or the 2nd district? And then we ask them a question about Carol Miller or Riley Moore. And what we see here is still, interestingly, there's a lot of people that don't know. They just don't have enough knowledge about either candidate. But when you break that out into party and you look at Carol Miller's favorability ratings in the Republican Party, it's 54% positive and only 14% unfavorable. And if you do the same for Riley Moore, it's 41% favorable and only 15% unfavorable. But there is that large segment of people who don't know. We also wanted to look at favorability ratings for both parties. And here you see the West Virginia Democratic Party on a favorable, unfavorable rating has a favorable rating of 39%. Again, that's perception. And how does that compare to Republicans? And the negative is obviously the plurality percentage here. So when we look at the Republican side, and again, this is predictable, but on the other hand, it's interesting to compare and contrast and think about what has happened since 2014 when the legislature flipped. So looking at the Republican Party, it's a 53% favorable, and among Republicans, it's 76% favorable. It's also very favorable among high-income individuals, I might add. So the next thing to look at, though, is how are these individuals doing in their job? What is the job performance, approval, or disapproval rating for each of these office holders? So we look at that, and again, Senator Justice is at 66 or 56%. As governor, that was 66%. So there's some carryover halo effect of his time as governor, but he is perceived in an approval of job performance level of 56%. Among Republicans, that's 70%. Among conservatives, it's 68%, and 54% with persons under 55. And interestingly, he's pretty strong in the 18 to 34 group, too. He's higher than the norm with younger people. If we look at Senator Capito, she really has consistently, over the years, been somewhere between a low of 43% and a high of about 51%. And this year, it's up 1 percentage point from last year to 47%. However, among conservatives, that's a 65% approval rating, and among Republicans, that's also 65%. So she's also doing well within her party in terms of overall satisfaction with job performance and overall as a senator that represents the entire state. Looking at Governor Morrissey, last year we polled this as Attorney General Morrissey, and he had a 45% job approval rating, and he still has a 45% job approval rating. It's highest among those who self-describe themselves as conservative. It's 63%. Among Republicans, it's 60%. Now, looking at Carol Miller, again, a smaller sample, a lot of don't knows, but still among it's overall, they had 35% not sure, but among Republicans, it was 60% favorable and only 15%, approval and 15% disapprove of her job performance. And with Riley Moore, also 50% really don't know him well enough to have an opinion. And he is at, within his party, 47% favorable, 9% unfavorable. So we also looked at the West Virginia legislature's job performance, and that was overall 44%, among Republicans 58%, among Democrats 29%. So we have some very important issues that we measured this year in West Virginia, which is really the best value of doing polling versus these trade-offs among candidates for office, but you can really zero in on how people in the state feel about important issues that are being discussed these days. And if you look at the first bar there, looking at the economy, should the legislature focus on economic issues or social issues? And by a clear majority, nearly three-fourths, 73%, said the legislature should be focusing on economic development issues more than social issues. That is the way West Virginians see it. They understand and have points of view and attitudes about the social issues of the day, but they want a good economy. They want jobs. They want people coming back to the state like the great folks we had on the stage earlier. So West Virginians understand that. It's about the economy. And interestingly, that's not just a Republican-Democratic Party point of view. Even Democrats overall had a very close percentage to that in terms of economic development being the role of the legislature more than social issues. So, if you're looking at another issue, reducing taxes to create a better economy in the state. And the wording is up there actually on the screen if you want to see the exact wording. And we had 66% said reducing taxes to increase job activity, economic development in the state is an important issue for the legislature. And that's true with Republicans and Democrats. So there's a lot of agreement, both parties. That's where there is agreement. Legislature focusing on business issues, creating jobs, reducing taxes, which will create job opportunities in the state. We asked people if they agree or disagree with more with big unions or big labor or big business. And now here it's real mixed. You have a real mix of opinion here. 40% agree that big business is who I identify with most, but there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of differentiation with the political orientation and with demographics. So where's the state headed? You know, the right way, wrong way question is always interesting in polling. Is the country and the state moving in the right direction or not? And here we do see some change and some improvement from last year when we did this study. As you can see here, there's more people today thinking the state is moving in the right direction versus the wrong direction compared to 2024. And that's essentially the attitude in the state is we are moving forward. But I say that with a cautionary note. And the cautionary note is this. People are concerned about the economy. We have another question about the economy that follows this one. And it's, is the economy getting better? Is it getting worse? Or is it staying about the same? And what we're seeing is that people are expressing more concern about the economy today than they did last year. And that's been a trend that has really taken place since COVID. Since about 2019, 2020, people, you see that bar increasing, that red line increasing about people concerned about the economy. So there's alignment with many of the things the legislature is doing, particularly with respect to economic development issues and creating jobs in the state, but there is an underlying latent concern about the economy in the state and people wondering what's next and how are tariffs going to affect me. We know groceries are more expensive, and that's just uncertainty. So that uncertainty that we saw last year and the previous year and the previous year is growing, and that's a warning sign, I think, for political leadership in the state. Now, I said we were going to get to at least one sports question. And I know we have a lot of Mountaineer fans in the room, And I'm not going to ask the WVU Marshall sports questions. Whoops, we didn't ask that this year. We know the result of that. Every time we ask a question, should WVU and Marshall play in football, 80% say yes. It's over and over and over. So we don't need to ask that again. Same thing with basketball. But we did have a Rich Rod question. Rich Rodriguez came back to West Virginia, in February. He left under some difficult circumstances in whatever year that was, 2006. So are people welcoming him back with open arms or not? I don't know what you might think in this room. I don't know how many people are going to Morgantown for the game. I don't know how many people are going to Athens for the game, the Marshall game. By the way, an old Marshall football player like me, best sports experience of my life. Notre Dame, 2022, and I was there with about 10 or 12 teammates from 1971 to 75, and it was, we were crying. I mean, it was unbelievable. Anyway, so back to Rich Rod. So are people welcoming him back with open arms or not? So, we only asked sports fans this question, but 60% are saying, welcome back. We're glad to have you. We're in the Big 12. We got to win. And we know, I think fans know, Rich Rod is a winner. Yes, he left under difficult circumstances. People weren't happy about that, but most sports fans in West Virginia are happy to see him back. So, with that, I'll leave it to, if there are any questions, happy to answer them. And thank you very much. No questions, no tough political questions. Okay, I'm happy about that.
Good work. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah. Time to do the door prizes, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the conclusion of West Virginia Chamber's 89th Annual Meeting and Business Summit. Please join me one last time in thanking the Chamber staff. Kathy, Steve, Brian, Caitlin, you guys did a great job. Thank you, all of you. Lily. I want to thank again the amazing staff here at the Greenbrier. And one last thank you. You may have seen West Virginia's finest, our state troopers, who have been here with us at the Business Summit. We are grateful to you for keeping us safe as we've gathered here this year. For those of you who are interested in the door prizes, the winner of the National Travel 5-night stay in Destin, Florida is Crystal Walker. The winner of the Stonewall Resort complimentary golf. There are 3, Stephanie Goff of Antero Resources, Bethany Hall of Quality Insights, and Andy Bennett from Enterprise Mobility. And the chamber winners for the exhibitor booths. The Fiesta Dinnerware was won by Jane Powell of the Kanawha Valley Foundation. The West Virginia Products Gift Basket, sponsored by EQT, was won by Patrick O'Malley of West Banco. The other West Virginia Products Gift Basket, sponsored by Mountain Pure, was won by Stephanie Goff of Antero Resources. She had a good day today. And the grand prize, 2 nights, 3 days at the Greenbrier, Tim and A.B. Ferguson from Potesta won that. Congratulations to all our winners. Thank you again for making this Business Summit one for the record books. We will reconvene next year right here to celebrate our 90th annual meeting and business summit, September 2nd through the 4th. Please travel safely, enjoy the holiday weekend, and continue creating connections to build the future. With that, I declare the 2025 West Virginia Business Summit adjourned.